Oh, hello guys. I'm recording this for the second time because my microphone kept cutting out. Really annoying. I don't hope it doesn't happen again. Because goddamn, this is annoying. So I'm doing a video for our first re-clear on Neltharion, just as a recap on what's important, what to look out for, how to move, when to pop CDs, and so on. Just going through our kill video. Not the perfect example of my own gameplay, but you get the gist and the knowledge of it. So we're pulling the boss. First mechanics are the lines. What's important about lines is one guy gets the say chat bubble above his head. He that decides if you're going to break it. So this guy would go to the world mark, break the wall. The other two guys always pointed towards the edge of the room. No one should get hit by this. So as melees, you would ideally just attack from this side. Same goes for ranged. When breaking the wall, sometimes groups struggle because they break two walls with one knockback. What you need to look out for, ideally you have the world marks and boss placed correctly, but one wall section includes this big spike and this a little bit smaller spike. So this would be one section, and to break it you would stand in the middle of these two spikes, having the big spike on your left. If you want to see a screenshot of this, we have it over here. So this red thing is where you should stand. You see the big spike over here, smaller spike on your right. And oftentimes when you break two, you would stand like this. You have the big spike on your right. That means you break this wall section as well as this wall section. So don't do that. Break one here. For the bombs, we are using the liquid list. We're not using the macro. So you need to check the list. As soon as the bomb spawn, there's an icon. There's 5 icons. You count from the top down. And this means that hot top would be number 1, Sulan number 2, Afam 3, simple 4. The melee will always have bomb number 5, 6. We have the BDGG map with the numbers located where to move. So that means 1 and 2 runs through, 3, 4, 5 are in the corner. I would be number 3. Going over here. Here's that. I'll show you an example of people who go through, what to look out for in a bit after I get it. So we have the Fisher in the corner. Could use a Warlock Gate here to keep melee boss damage uptime. What we're doing is though we damage stop at 62-ish% just to face it, get all CDs back. You usually do that on progress kills. On re-clears you might push it earlier and then delay last in P3. But for early kills I recommend with the damage stop. So we're running through, new location. What tanks can watch out for is that the wall break is usually in a 90 degrees angle to the wall. So this one right here is a good position. Breaking the wall, you see 1 and 2 goes through. I would be number 2. General rule is that 1 always goes far and hugs the left side, facing this way. Number 2 hugs the right. I go over here. You see the damage intake in a second. It's like 20% on hit and a nasty dot. When coming back, it's quite tight to get over this swirly without getting hit. If you get hit, you probably die. I'm not sure actually. So what's recommended is you stand behind it. Make sure that you're not breaking line of sight of the healers. So right here, I'm in heal line of sight. Over here, I wouldn't. Wait for the tank to get slammed through. Then you run through. As you can see, it takes quite hard. So have personals ready. And healers have an eye out on who got the debuff and spot heal them a little bit. Fish is in the corner. We're running through, skipping ahead a little bit. Lines are the same thing. On this third set of bombs, we are using 3. We are putting 3 people through. You probably don't need to do that. You can fit 3 guys over here, I think. But for the sake of ease, we keep doing this. Having number 1 running very far. Pop your movement speed stuff if you're number 1. walls. 1, 2, and 3 go through. This time hugs the left as well, actually. Safe spot here. Thanks, Lem. Same thing. Fisher will be in the corner. And we are running through again. Here we don't break any more walls. So even though it says wall break on Adya, we don't break any walls, so all 3 of the lines are faced towards the edge of the room. Else should get hit. For this set of bombs, again, you might not need to do this, but what we do is you stack bomb 1 and 2 on the same location with personals, and you can also assign Blessing of Sacrifice and or other DRs. Number 5 will need to step into the lava. What we used is a spell ward on this guy, so he takes 0 damage. We don't have a paladin. I'm actually not sure if other DRs are strong enough. You can figure that out on your own. Here we have DJ and Pack stacking with their personals, giving us a good safe space. Boss is also below 62, so at 62-ish, we sort of call to damage stop. We're actually not stopping good enough, so we will face it too early. But ideally you stop, you put the fish in the corner as we do. This will spread out over time. We run into this corner over here. We have our mark for the safe space. So what you would like to do is getting the animation of the knock lines. As soon as he starts his animation, you want to push him below 60. He doesn't stop the animation, so you get 3 damage for this, like 3 seconds or something. And the lines would just face this way to the edge of the room. Everybody else can be sort of on diamond. We're facing it too early here. As you see, go back when we call for damage stop is usually when 2 minutes would be back up, but we don't use them because it would be wasted. When facing, ideally, you would keep your 2 minutes for quite a while. You would keep it until the second ad in phase 2, which is about 340. And then you have it back for Bloodlust at around 6 minutes. But I use it here by accident. You probably wouldn't do this on progress. Corruption comes out. You want to look out for to not use any abilities that cleave. If you have something like Starfall or anything else that has a duration, you might want to cancel macro it or not use it at all before this. So we see 3 people get corrupted, no one uses cleave damage. As a tip, if you corrupted and you tap target once, you would actually always target the voice from beyond. You can also make a target macro or pick it if you want. It only needs a few seconds or a few globals to take it out. So again, like 3 seconds, no one should really cleave. You also see that 3 minutes come back up. So this is where people use 3 minutes on cooldown, so they get it back for the 6-minute mark. Most likely you have plenty of damage, so you can cleave off the boss and still kill the ad in time. And that gives you a bit more boss damage. Maybe you want to swap at the last 20% or something, depending how fast you are. For bombs, you see we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 all in the same field. Starting from 1 being in the middle here and going clockwise. Just be ready for that. There's a small safe zone here. Dodging swirlies obviously is important because you might die of them. The knocks are happening obviously towards the edge of the room. No one else should get hit. Bombs is the same thing. Again, we're cleaving off the boss and the ad dies. The ad should ideally die before the corruption comes out here. So you can still put cleave, but you would stop cleave at this point so you don't hit your friends. We're facing the boss. This is probably the hardest part in phase 2 at least. After the first ad is dead, we get corrupted. We need to move to the second ad before the wall comes up. The bombs are coming up, as well as an AoE rate target hit, the annihilation, plus the lines. So pretty much everything happens at the same time. What we're doing is we have a Warlock Gateway ready that everybody can take. there's two options, because bomb number 1 needs to be in the back where we are right now ish, so that everybody has a safe space. And you see on the map we put 2, 3, 4, 5, having the boss somewhat in the middle or so. Option number 1 is everybody takes the gate way earlier than we did, before the bombs come out, get in position. Number 1 would need to run back in time. Ideally, you have a movement speed running with a roar or a wind rush at the gateway location. You can also anticipate if you get number 1 bomb or not and take the gateway late, so you wait for the bombs. And if you get bomb number 1, you would just wait on the gateway for the explosion, take it afterwards. Everybody else can take it. But anyways, we are running through. The Umbral Annihilation is coming out, same with the explosion. So this is where we would pop personals to reduce this damage income, and then have movement speed to get into your location. We were actually quite close with it, probably not the best timing. But we explode with personals, staying very healthy. See the lines come out as well. We sort of YOLO'd them. Ideally, you could say that all the lines are faced on this side of the ad. Everybody else melee staying on the left side of the ad, so people don't get hit with the lines. Plus, you can see that if you are number 1 with bomb explosion, you would have moved back. You need to pop any movement speed or teleport something to get through this swirly, because the wall comes up quite early. You might get closed out. The hardest phase, make sure to be comfortable with this one. And then the bombs, same thing with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in a clockwise fashion. Just always be ready for this on where to go. Leaving us with enough safe space around the boss. Obviously, you have some heal CDs assigned for Annihilation. This is ramping damage. Okay, this third set of bombs, or fifth set, I guess, or third set on the second ad, is a bit special because we get lines at the same time. And for the lines to have space to get knocked towards the edge, we have different bomb placement. So if you see the opening over here, wall is open. We have number 1 running through quite far, number 2 sort of being at this opening. So be ready if you get bomb number 1 to use your movement speed and run through. And obviously have your HP in mind, because you're quite far from any healers. And that gives us enough space to face the lines towards the edge of the room without getting hit by the explosion. It was quite close, actually. Then we get corrupted. Oh, by the way, for the second ad, as I mentioned before, at 340, 350, this is where you ideally pop your 2-minute CDs, leave off the ad onto the boss. So we get corrupted after killing the ad. We don't cleave. We need to run through, have some sort of movement speed, because it gets quite tight otherwise. Once we're in, we're cleaving off the ad. And we can see that bombs 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 are all in this field. And it's a bit tighter than usual. 1 will be in the corner. We have 2 marked with X. Common mistake was that bomb number 2 went over here. But then he hits bomb number 3, which is on skull on the right side of this pillar. So 2 is on X, 3 is on skull. Number 4 needs to be on the right side of this pillar as well. 5 has space over here, leaving us with quite a tight safe space. So you see 1, 2, 3, 4 over here at the pillar, and 5 in the corner. Leaving this tight safe space for the raid. We're cleaving off the ad here. Same thing, this is the last Annihilation. Hits like a truck. So bad example from me, be inside of any raid cooldowns you have, because it hits very hard, from 90% to 5%, something like that. In terms of damage, boss goes immune at about 35%-ish, I believe, ±1. So ideally you cleave off the ad. You might want to swap to the boss if you see that you're killing it too fast and you can squeeze out more boss damage. But we're doing the bombs, same thing. And you see that the safe space sometimes gets really tight. You can play this third set of bombs if you want, so cleaving off the boss now is good. What you want to beat is the last annihilation, because people usually don't assign really heavy great CDs for this, because it deals more than the last one. So we beat it, we phase into P3 at around 5 minutes. So what's important here, tank movement is specific. He puts it into this corner over here. Tank movement also, or boss position, decides which walls he breaks and which portals he spawns. That's why you want to have the boss always in every pool on the same location, so you get the same portal spawn locations. Makes it a bit easier. For the lines in this phase, we sort of freestyle them. Always face them towards the edges of the room. So safe space would just be towards the middle. Every melee could attack from this side as well as ranged, so you don't get hit by these. Have cleave abilities, because the ads are hurting quite a lot, but cleave off the boss, and you see AoE CCs are pretty good on those as well. Same thing if you have misdirections from hunters and rogues, you can put them on the tank, so no one gets clapped by the ads. When portals have spawned, you get a new map from BDGG. Every player is pre-assigned to one number, and if you have set it up correctly, that number even shows green, so you know where to go. So in my case, I see it's on my right. This portal is my number 13. There is a chance that the portal is not up. In this case, ideally you see it very early, your portal is not up. That means one of the letters, A, B, C, D, and so on, one of these portals has spawned instead. Excuse me. The weaker is not smart enough to decide if your portal has spawned or not. So you need to look at your own. If it hasn't spawned, one of the backup portals is up. You need to indicate where it is and go there. There's an alternative which we'll talk about later. Second set. But you see here the cast, squeeze out as much damage as possible before stepping in. Also, you take ticking damage every second or so by being inside the portal, so go in as late as possible. Also, you want to be around 100% HP before the hit. If not, you pop a half-stone half-pot or a personal DR. And tank movement, we would move him. I'm actually not entirely sure where he should be. I think he should be over here in this edge. There is a picture in the Red Leader Discord. So we see on the first one he's in the corner, and the second one he would be in sort of this corner as well. I'm actually not quite sure where it is. Supposed to be here. Because if the boss is not in the correct position, let's say, then some portals might not spawn. What happened here is, I believe, he was too close to the middle instead of at the edge, so some portals over here did not spawn. Same thing, you just keep blasting off the boss. This is also the 6-minute mark. So after the first set of portals, we basically pop Bloodlust, and the 3-minute will come up as well in this Bloodlust timing. So again, for 2 minutes, you pop them on pool. You save them, you don't pop them at 2 minutes, you save them for about 340 for the second ad in P2. Then you get it back at around the 6-minute mark here for P3. Same with Combat Pot, you pop it on pool and you have it back for this Bloodlust phase. Leaving off the boss, same thing, you would look out for your portal. Ideally, you would already know by looking at this if it's up or not. Sometimes it's a bit complicated. and you're gonna see a bad example over here. I'm jumping over because I know my portal is in the back, but it's actually not up, so it didn't spawn. Most likely because the boss was not in that corner. Sorry. So one of the backup portals, A, B, C, D, E, has spawned, but we were too slow to call out which one it is. So instead, what I can do is I can turtle a hit, and you actually don't die with immunities up. Another good alternative you can do is have people with immunities in set locations, or even mark them in this space. Whenever someone doesn't have his portal, he needs a backup, he can run to that immunity guy, get into his portal, and the immunity guy instead moves out and pops his immunity. Somehow just need to figure out where to go by having it world marked or whatever. You can also assign one paladin to always be close to the boss, for example, so that you know a backup would be close. But anyways, we are moving on. Third set of portals, I believe, just here in the middle in the room. And same thing, misdirection the ads. Giving off the boss, lines ideally just having away from the raid. Check out if your portal is up. And then same thing, be healthy for the hit. Get in as late as possible. If you have any personals up, this is probably the time where to use it. Any DRs or health pot and so on to be at full life for the hit. It's hard. This is also where you should kill the boss because there's no more portals spawning. There's like 4 or 5 maybe up in the back. But this big bang over here pretty much kills the raid. Ideally, you kill the boss here. You can do if the boss is healthy, or you can do it either way. The last set of ads, or there's more portal, there's gonna be more ads. Just get aggro from them as a tank, and you kite them around the room. Have them slowed, or even use Ring of Peace, so the tanks don't die. That's the fight. There's also a tank mechanic where people usually pop the tank or something to get rid of their debuff. There's multiple options to do so. There's a list over here you can read for yourself what there is to do. You can use Prot Pala with Bubble Taunt. Other paladins can do the same thing. Die by the sword sort of works, and so on. Yep, that's pretty much what we're gonna do. I think everything was stated. So yeah, good luck and thanks for listening. Peace.